Okay, or have you planned everything out for the summer? Because so many people have, and guess what? The numbers are showing that international travel bookings right now are up some 200%, more than 200%. It's a crazy number. People not only want to travel, they want to go international. They want to see the world. Let's bring in Megan Cooper with AAA to talk more about this number. An extraordinary number, but I have to say, Megan, my family and I this past spring break, we went to Costa Rica, and it was fabulous. Our producer Amanda Hansen's got an amazing honeymoon plan internationally. I mean, I can totally get it. People are just ready to go. What are some of the reasons?
So people are more comfortable with traveling. We've seen that trend over the last couple of years, but people are ready to go. They're ready to get out and see new places. And, we're seeing that reflected in our travel bookings. So we're up 200% on international travel bookings compared to last year. The biggest increase we've seen is in hotel bookings. That's up over 300% compared to last year. So people are comfortable, they want to get out, and they just want to see the world.
I totally get it. That is so true in the people that I interact with a lot. So let's talk about, I guess, a priority list. What are some of the guidelines? Since we probably know, with thousands of people watching us right now, we are either going international or we know a friend that's going international. What are the ways to really kind of set that list, that checklist for everybody?
Right. So one of the first things that you want to do is prioritize your passport. So if you have a trip planned or you're thinking about traveling internationally and you either don't have a passport or your passport is close to expiring, go ahead and get that taken care of as soon as possible. We are seeing a little bit of a longer wait time on some of those passports. In some cases, maybe 7 to 9 weeks. And you need this to travel internationally. So if first things first, if you don't have your passport taken care of and secured away, go ahead and do that right now.
Very cool. What about when it comes to packing and, my biggest fear was that, okay, our flight's going to get canceled and we're going to be, up a creek, I guess, for lack of a better term.
Right. So unfortunately, lost luggage, delayed flights, those are all things that we have to navigate now, and always have when we're traveling. So if you're traveling with other people, with a family, with a spouse, with a friend, when you're packing, maybe try to spread clothing and those items that you think that you're going to need across multiple suitcases. That way you don't have one person that has absolutely nothing while another suitcase might have made it and one person has, everything that they need. When I personally travel, I try to keep everything in a carry-on and try not to check baggage. So if at all possible, if you don't have to check that baggage, maybe try to fit everything into a carry-on. If you are checking that baggage, maybe just go ahead and put some extra identification in there. So maybe take out a big sheet of paper and write your information on it, just in case that luggage tag is lost or something happens. You want a way to get that luggage back to you if it is lost or misplaced.
You are a rarity, Megan. The women in my family, they all have to check luggage. Like I've even mentioned that. Like, hey, why don't we carry on? It'd make it better. They're like, no, what are you, crazy? We have to check luggage. So hats off to you. I'm even more impressed by you with that response.
It's taken years of practice, I will say.
I bet. That's the other fear, though, that the luggage is going to get lost. I mean, is there any way, obviously, carry on is the best way. Is there any other way to maybe mark your luggage to make sure that it doesn't get lost? Or is there something else that people can do?
Just make sure that you're checking that baggage early. Make sure that you're giving yourself plenty of time to check it in. Be mindful of how you're planning your flights. So if at all possible, try to book those early morning flights. Those have a less likelihood of being delayed. And then take a look at what destinations you're traveling through. Is it a nonstop flight? Obviously, with a nonstop flight, that's less places that your baggage has to go. So limit those in between destinations. And if at all possible, if you can't avoid those, give yourself plenty of time at those different stops. And sometimes we just can't avoid losing our luggage. Sometimes the inevitable happens, and you're that unlucky person. So that is one instance where travel insurance can really come in handy. And travel insurance does cover some of those costs of delayed flights as well as lost baggage fees.
Help me maneuver travel insurance for a second here, because I know travel insurance is a big question mark for a lot of people when they travel internationally. There's a train of thought that says, well, the travel insurance doesn't cover certain issues that are more likely to happen, so why even get it? And then there's another one that says, no, you need to get travel insurance and get the highest amount, or maybe you should get it for just specific things. Tell me where you stand, where AAA stands when it comes to travel insurance.
So with travel insurance, we always advise for people to purchase this, especially if you're traveling internationally. You're likely spending a lot of money. So we want you to protect that investment. If anything happens, if you get sick, if you can't go on that vacation, if something happens while you're on that vacation, we want you to be able to get that investment back if you at all possibly can. So with travel insurance, there are different options. So depending on what you're booking, how you're traveling, it really can be beneficial. So with those different types of travel insurance, of course, some things are covered, some things are not covered. And I think it ultimately comes down to that personal choice and how comfortable with risk that you are. But just personally, and from AAA, if you're making that investment and traveling, you really want to protect that, so you're not losing out on money if something were to happen on that trip. And that's also where a travel advisor comes in very handy, because they can explain to you, what travel insurance would look like for your trip, how much you need, what that would cost. And a lot of times it's really not that expensive to add on that travel insurance policy to your trip.
Good deal. I appreciate you explaining that. Anything else you want to mention that you feel is important for some of the people, some of our viewers, thousands of which join us each and every morning, when they're traveling internationally?
I think the biggest thing this year is planning ahead. We're expecting things to be very busy. I've already heard reports this morning that we're expecting things to get even busier this summer. So if you haven't booked that international travel yet, go ahead and do that as soon as possible, especially if you're traveling this summer. But planning ahead, flexibility is key. If you are in the early planning phases of, planning an international trip, some of those ways that you can save money are being flexible, maybe, traveling in the off season, maybe traveling during the week versus on the weekend. But the biggest thing I think for travelers this year is start to plan early and book that trip early. With the demand and the interest that we've seen so far this year, that's likely to continue throughout the rest of the year. So that sweet spot of getting the trip that you want at the price that you want really is going to come from planning ahead and booking early.
Megan Cooper, who only carries on her luggage on those international flights. Megan, I really appreciate you and all that you do for us here at the Digital Desk, informing our public about the do's and don'ts when it comes to so many different things, including international travel. Thanks very much.